Welcome back, everybody. Thank you very much for taking the time to join me on Sunday the 9th. Man, the first week of the month is already gone. Can you believe it? The Q3 is almost well underway here. We're heading on into fall, deeply into fall, and the markets are not playing well with others. And so that's very little surprise. So if you guys are new to me, my name is Red Baron. Thank you very much again for joining me. We got something new on the screen. You're seeing a little bit of a different format here because I'm trying to fly under the radar, to be honest, because I'm trying to show a new product that we have available, and YouTube don't like me too well because I'm showing people how to win these markets, and they don't like that. I'm also a well-known author. I've wrote several books, and you have to realize that the market or that YouTube has a habit of anything that sounds too good to be true, they just immediately kill it. And I wrote a diet book a long time ago, and I dared to suggest that cutting calories might lead to weight loss. They actually would not let me advertise that video because I dared to suggest such unfathomable things. And so in my last video, I dared to suggest that AI might possibly outtrade human people a lot. And if you'd like to watch those videos, let me show you that here real quick. If you go to our channel and you just watch these two videos right here, Trade Sniper, get your very own AI, watch it rip through the markets, et cetera, and the next gen AI is born. Watch these two videos, guys. It will literally light you up. If you watch these two videos, you're going to take a whole new opinion on what's possible in the market. But every time I try to advertise those products, or every time I try to advertise those videos, I get, you're talking about the dirty C word, and, it's not possible to make money in the dirty C word. But I'm here to tell you that I'm a multimillionaire and I've done it because you guys have watched me do it live on YouTube. If you're not familiar with my work, if you're not familiar that I do this stuff live on camera, you can actually see me trade over $800,000 on Pepe in one night. I made $175,000, and it's still here on YouTube that you can watch and see that I am 100% credible. The things that I say, I will not lead you down a blind alley. I will not suggest something to you that does not work. And because I'm not here to take your money, I'm not here to shill a coin, I'm not here to do any of those things. I like to help people. I like to see everybody be successful. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about, in my humble opinion, what I think is coming for the next couple of weeks. And it's not good, folks. So the YouTube influencers would have you believe that we're sitting on the precipice of a bull market. And I'm here to tell you, no, we're not. Because let's take a look at silver real quick. Silver is a very strong tell as to why I say we're not. Now, I showed this double purple line here as being a strong resistance. I said, when we're going to hit this thing several times, but when we get past it, that's when problems are going to start. And by the way, real quickly, if you want to join my free chat here, I need to interject a lot of things. If you want to join my free chat and get into the unfairadvantage.chat, you will see that website at the very top of the web page here, or at the very top of the broadcast. That's our free crypto chat group, and we do have subscription levels above that. If you want to know about Trade Sniper or anything like that I'm going to be talking about intermittently through this broadcast, ask somebody, how do I get a Trade Sniper? Where do I go to buy it? Just go to the unfairadvantage.chat. Okay, so back to this. Silver hit this three times, and then we finally punched through it. Now, I said, well, told you so, because I had already given a mark of where we're headed, and we are headed there. Now, let me show you the most critical part about this, and this right here should really make your legs weak when you look at this. As a crypto investor, as any kind of investor, you should be very cognizant of what has happened, which does not happen very often in silver, and it's this. Price action gapped up on a weekend. That I can't remember the last time that happened. If you go back in the charts and look, it just simply does not happen. And by gap up, let me show you what I'm talking about. It literally jumped from that price to that price, just like that. And if you look, it's generally pretty boring, stable. There's no gaps up. You can go back for a long, long time. Now, the question that you have to ask yourself is what in God's name would make something jump that violently? Well, the word is panic. The markets are panicked. People know. Those who know, know. Those who don't, you're going to get slaughtered. And so here's the grand takeaway from this. Now, I had shown this as being the likelihood, and I said, well, we're probably likely going to get to about 42 and a quarter. And from there, we're probably going to get a little bit of a rejection, a little bit of a downturn because they're going to reel the markets in. But they have let this thing run for a very long time. It's been running upwards pretty much for an entire year. Does that sound, with the exception of this right here, does that sound very probable to you? Even if we were to go from here, they were letting it run since April. And that's not very probable that that would work. It's not very organic and it's not very likely. But there has been such a steady, strong push for people to get into flights to safety, is what they call it. But there will be a point at which they're going to try to manipulate the markets and make it look like nothing to see here, folks. And they'll go on a buying binge or a selling binge to try and drop this price down here. And it's going to drop back down to about 36 and a half bucks when it does. Now, when it does that, you can look for a surge around about, I'm expecting this to probably happen around about the very last month and a half to month of the year. Around about Christmas, you would see the pullback before that. But as we go on into the next year, you can pretty much expect to see surges upwards of 45 to $55, probably even on up to 60. But the surges are going to be stronger. They're going to be more violent. The gap ups are going to be more common. I will tell you, if you ever see a second gap up, and there's a very strong likelihood that you will, when you see that second gap up, you can say, oh my God, that guy on YouTube called it. He said that that's not common. When you see that second gap up happen, you better go into full panic mode because that means it's about to hit the fan. That means people are coming in waves trying to grab anything that's got solidity to it because not a whole lot's going to have solidity. Those of you who do not know me, I'm one of the largest, or was at one point prior to 9/11. I sold off all my real estate assets. I was one of the largest non-corporate landowners in my state, having several thousand houses. And I got out of the market after 9/11 because I never thought the real estate market was ever going to rebound in a way that made sense. And it hasn't. People will tell you that it does, but to my mind, the way that real estate has traditionally been done, no, it's not. And at this point in 2025, I think we can all agree real estate is vastly overpriced. And anyone who's taking a casual look at the market knows that the fall is coming. So we've got a fall for assets of all kinds, real estate, crypto, certainly. Stocks are far overdue for a drop. Drop, 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 drop. It's going to be raining blood in every sector you can possibly imagine, and crypto will be part of it. So this is why I tell you, you are not going to see a bull run. You're going to see things that look like a bull run, but they're going to turn around and take it from you. You're going to get rugged. Be very, very cautious of what you choose to believe. Okay, so let's go on. Let's take a look at Bitcoin here real quickly and talk about that. And once again, the unfairadvantage.chat. Love to have you join us here. So this formation here I identified going close to 3 weeks ago, I think. I said this is an inverted Adam and Eve, and here's your Eve, and here's your Adam, and effectively this is the simple way of looking at this is it works the same way as a double top. It works the same way as an inverted cup and handle. For those of you that don't understand technical analysis, those are just forms. But generally, what you get from this is something most people will not teach you, is the inside part of these formations. There's a distance that can be derived, and that's called velocity. And if you take that velocity and you put it at the rim and the edge, you get down here to predictions. And I made these predictions twice. So we're waiting for 50% of that to drop and hit right here on this particular EMA right here. And so we will be seeing Bitcoin hit about 104 and some change here pretty quick. But once it pierces that, you can sure as shoot and expect it's going to be coming down here to this target here. And we're going to get back under 100,000. Now, when is that going to happen? I would imagine probably by the time we get to the backside of October. October, November has traditionally been a really crappy time for crypto markets. That's usually when you see the most violent moves. And again, that's because you get into things such as market analysis and people moving their stuff around, the big boys taking their money and sidelining it and dumping their bags on everybody and then buying it back when they reposition. It's all tax strategy, basically, is what I'm trying to tell you. And so they're taking their losses and they're rebooking gains and stuff in the oncoming years. And so this is very part and parcel even for a good year. So to think that we're heading into a bull market going into Christmas, those of you who've been in crypto for any length of time, go back and study what happens during most markets. generally at the last part of the year. It's not good, and it never is. And so to believe that this is going to be anything different, especially with all the wars and rumors of wars and house prices out of control, stock market overpriced, crypto market is kind of blah, 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 whatever, there's no reason to be optimistic about that happening. So common sense applies. So let's take a look at XRP here. I want to show you something really quick, and I want to kind of plug Trade Sniper into this here real quickly also as well. Um, let's take that out here real quick. Okay, so first of all, we're in a formation here, which is kind of a triangle formation. Now, this is the thing that everybody's kind of hanging their hat on. They're saying, okay, well, look, we're at a pennant, and pennants mean that we go up. Here's your flagpole, blah blah blah. Well, let me ask you a question. Who makes these formations? Well, it's the master computer. You're fighting against a computer, and you are a simple human being fighting against a very highly programmed piece of technology. And it wants you to believe that this is the move. And if you don't understand that there's some submodalities to this and some other things to learn and observe, then you're going to fall for that trap. And what's going to happen is they're going to give you what's called an inverted J hook. And if you've ever seen it before, you've never known it by name, but this is exactly what will happen. Let's go ahead and let's draw that for you. And I'll show you what they think is going to happen, and I'll show you what I think is really going to happen. So here's your pennant right here. Now we've got, this flag is rather long. I'll grant you that. Now this is what they think that they have. They think, now surely we're going to take this flagpole and we're going to stick it on here, and we're going to be off to the moon, boys and girls. We're going to be up here. Now we're going to be up here at $4. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's not going to happen. What's going to happen is there's something called a 50% move, and this is observation, pattern recognition is one of my skill sets. I'm an engineer by trade, and so I watch this in a much different way than most people do, and that's why I'm successful when most people are not, is because the 50% mark, as it would have it, happens to be at the top, forming a double top. So what happens is they fake you into thinking that this formation is off to the races. And the people who get screwed the most are the people that are longing this. They're leveraging. This is why we don't teach or preach leveraging in my group. It's a cardinal sin. Don't do it, because when you're placing these bets like that, you're literally telling Mr. Casino owner, these are the bets I want to do. And he's looking over your shoulder. He can see your cards. He knows exactly. And when enough of you bet a certain way, the casino bets the opposite way. And this is how they do it. They sucker you in by showing you a classic TA formation, and they know where your bets are placed because you're already placing them. And then they give you hope. And they give you hope, and you start piling in, and then they take it from you. And that is what's called an inverted J hook. And I've called these things thousands and thousands of times. They also work the other direction for downwards just as up. This has wrecked more lives and devastated more financial fortunes than anything in crypto and in stock markets either. And no one has ever identified it and called it as such. But that is a legitimate move that's been demonstrated thousands and thousands of times over the last 5 years that I've been broadcasting. Okay, so be watching for that. So just let's kind of take a powder on this for a second. Let's get back to what I think is most likely going to happen. Now, if they go that direction, that is what's going to happen. But I'm telling you ultimately where I think we are going to end up, and that's lower. So I've been calling for this for a long time. Now, also for those of you that kind of want to know about this guy that's talking, at one point in time, I was ranked number 33 on the XRP rich list. I called the top of this market, and I'm documented as doing such. I called the top and I said, listen, guys, I'm out. I'm out. I sold right here. Have I been wrong yet? Nope. Nope. And so I'm sitting here holding a very large bag of USDC waiting for a buyback. And when that happens, I'll let you know. But right now, currently, I'm down, or the market's dropped 19.26%, actually lower, since I sold at the top. So if I'm willing to sell at the top, and if I'm willing to sell millions and millions of XRP and sell at the top, mock me if you want, but I could buy back at 19% more than I sold, plus the interest I've been making at 4.5% per annum while I hold my money. So who's the fool? Okay, so this is going to go lower. Now let me show you something here that I think y'all should be cognizant of. So there's a channel at work here, and I kind of mock this up here just by hand. And so I know there's a lot of stuff on the screen. This is part of an earlier conversation I was having with subscribers. So just kind of look through all the spaghetti here, and I'll show you what you really need to see. So here is the actual formation that is at hand right now. And if you look at it, it makes more sense when you have somebody kind of call your attention to it. So currently right now we are in this channel. So we can take this out of here just to kind of make it a little easier to see. Okay, let me just change color on this, and that'll probably help you guys a little bit here. I'm cognizant of the fact that a lot of you guys are looking at this on a phone. So, okay, there you go. That ought to be pretty front and center to you. Now, if you can see, this is a half channel running right through here. And you can see we are interacting indeed with that half channel. And then we fall through, and then we rise above, and then we fall through, and then we rise above. So that half channel is holding sway on this motion. It has nothing to do with what you think or what they think with this triangle. It's a downward channel. And when we get to the bottom of this channel, we're going to hit the top of this and we're going to play down again and we're going to ricochet. Now we can go and click off on right here, which is right at about $2.65. I firmly believe we will be seeing $2.65. Now at that point, things are going to take an ugly downturn for the rest of it, and a larger formation of channel is going to be at play, and that's going to be this channel. Once we fall, think of it this way. We've got one channel here and one channel here. When we fall out of this upper channel, we're going to fall into this lower channel, and we'll be working in this. So all it's going to take is one drop past this line right here, which happens to be right at the Keltner, to get down in this lower, and things are going to go from bad to worse. Now, you have to kind of take a very backward stance and look at the world in general to say, is that possible? Well, I've already laid out a pretty good case that the future is not looking all that great. Wars, overpriced stock market, panic in the silver market and the gold market. All you got to do is just sit back and see all these pieces laced together. And the idea that somehow XRP is going to operate in a vacuum and take you to the moon at 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, whatever ridiculous future forecast people are putting on this thing in the next couple of days is absolutely asinine. It will not happen. The same people who are investing in XRP are broadly the same people buying lottery tickets, are broadly the same people that are buying other cryptos and stuff like that. To think that XRP is somehow in a vacuum, completely separated from every other market move, is absolutely just pie in the sky, wishful hoping. Now, we've seen XRP be in the market a lot lately, and you would wonder, hey, how come you're hearing about all these partnerships that are happening all over the place, and we're not seeing any kind of upward action? It's because the master computer doesn't want it up. Because news shows up after the move to verify the move. I've again demonstrated this many, many times. This is a saying within my group. The news means nothing to price action because there is a master computer, not human traders, that are doing this. The master computer knows where it wants this stuff, and it does not want it to boost yet. It's not ready for prime time. It's set up to wipe you out first, get all the plebes out of the game so that the big boys can come in and buy it back at a much lower price than what you're seeing on your screen right now. Okay, so we'll cover that in great detail more later on in future forecasts. Now, can we make any money in the meantime? I want to leave you with a little scrap of something, some form of hope. XLM had a massive 5x run this year. I called that, and we profited heavily from that. XLM was an amazing run. Now, there's been some settleback, and I said, after a 5x run, it's time to just, tap out, walk away, don't touch this thing for a couple of months because it's got to settle down. And settle down it surely did. And so now we're into what's called a triple descending wave. And a triple descending wave is just exactly what it sounds like. You get your first run, you get your second run, and your third one is on its way. Now, that's going to settle out. And so when it does, you're going to be seeing more downward action. And so right now, basically, there's money to be made right there. And so the question to be asked is, what kind of money can you make? Well, generally, if you follow this channel and you know my philosophy, because I try to keep you guys safe and not get you aping into something that will wreck you, because I'm also cognizant of the fact that not a lot of you guys trade with more than a couple $1,000. You have to have a pretty good stretch. You have to have a pretty good run. I mean, I know all you guys are hoping for these 100, 200, 500x runs. They don't happen all that often, and you're never ready for them. when they do happen. So most of the time you got to kind of eke it out little by little by little. And so when that happens, you can't come in with a pocket full of change and get life-changing amounts of profit. So this is why I steer people away from anything less than a 15% return on your money. And so this would not be a trade I would come into with what we refer to as McMoney. If you're making McDonald's paycheck money, this is not your jam. This is not something you would want to mess with. If you're working with high four figures, five figures, certainly. But you're going to have to watch it because there's probably going to be anywhere from about 10 to 11% move on this. But you're going to have to get in, out, and gone. Now, I want to bring Trade Sniper back into the conversation to show you how amazing this machine is and what this will do for you in a scenario just like this. And again, I do want to kind of get back to this to say that, hang on just a second here, I got to get something opened up. Um, do go watch these two videos because this will explain everything you need to know about the mechanics of Trade Sniper and how incredible it is. But if you wanted to, if you had Trade Sniper, you could purchase right now because obviously we're swinging positive and there's going to be some money be made here. Trade Sniper would lock in your price. It would do what's called a live trailing stop loss. So let's talk about that for a second. Here's what normally happens with a lot of you guys. You buy these things and then you sit on them and you don't really have a clear exit in mind. A lot of people who call themselves investors really don't understand the basics of investing. The basics of investing is more than put in money, make more money. The basics of being an investor is always know where the exits are at or have a fairly good idea where the exits are at. Sometimes you have to do this thing called sleep. And so I don't like to, when I'm day trading, I don't like to have open trades when I sleep. It makes me sleep very light and I don't like it. But sometimes you're forced into that. And so then you have to go do limit orders or something like that. And then the casino sees your moves and they play against you. And sometimes you wake up with a very unpleasant result. Now, Trade Sniper will never execute a trade that the casino can see. It keeps it live in the RAM, and when it's time to do it, lightning fast executes it 1,000 times a second. It's scanning the market for opportunities, and nobody sees it coming. It doesn't show on the order books. Other traders can't trade against you. It sees the opportunity, it takes it. So let me show you specifically how that would work in this scenario. If you were to purchase right now with Trade Sniper, what you would do is you would enter a buy order here. Let's just call this 35. Let's just call it 36 cents. And you buy this, and let's say this thing runs up, and it goes up to that Keltner right there and hits that. Now let's change the color of that to green here. This is the point at which most investors will go, well, maybe it'll go a little bit further. Maybe it'll go a little bit further. But it doesn't. Instead, it starts to go down a little bit. And then you go, well, no, it'll turn around. It'll turn around. And then it goes down a little bit more, and you go, oh, well, no, I'm going to hang on to it for a while. And then it goes down a little bit more. And how many times has this happened to you guys? There's no reason for that. And so if you have proper technology, which Trade Sniper is, Trade Sniper will never let that happen to you because what will happen in this case is, let me just go ahead and show you. I'll show you the interface for Trade Sniper. It's quite simple. It looks like a lot going on here, but let me show you the interface right now currently. Give me just a second here to open her up. Okay, so if we were going to do a purchase, let's just use, I'm going to shut that one out here. Cancel strategy. We also have a sandbox feature built into Trade Sniper, so you can paper trade and do a lot of what ifs with these things, which is really kind of cool. So you don't have to risk any money to see would you have made any money, and you can make yourself pretty proficient at using this tool before you ever risk any money, which is awesome. Okay, so here's what we got. We're going to paper trade this thing, and so first thing we want to do is we've opened up XLM. We're going to start the strategy. Now we've got our active strategy going. It's showing us that we're at 358. What we would do is we would do a buy. How many bucks do I want to spend? Let's buy 5,000 bucks. Okay, we buy. Now what we've just done now, and this is important. This is another thing that I think you guys should really understand. It's been one of my biggest missions as an investor trainer to teach you guys how to assess, am I winning or losing? I hear so often on a daily basis, oh, I made 10% or I made 20% or whatever. Did you? Did you really? Because if you didn't account for the cost of getting in and the cost of getting out, you really don't know what you made. Because if you don't know what your trade fees are, getting in and getting out, and you think you made 10%, you probably actually made less. There are times when you think you're above, like if you buy something at 35 cents and you sell it at 36 cents, you can't figure out how come the market always goes backwards on me. Well, it's because you haven't factored in your cost of getting in and your cost of getting out. Trade Sniper will do that for you. And as you can see, I just made a purchase of 5,000 bucks. Naturally, I'm down 107 bucks because I've got to get that 107 bucks back before I'm in true profit. And there's a term for that. It's called the donut line. And the donut line is just a cute little term that I started to use. I'm famous for my weird little sayings. The donut line is very simply this. It's the line that you actually get to on the market or on the chart. Let me show you this specifically. Let's go ahead and sweep this stuff out here. I'll give you a real quick lesson. So currently our price is at what? Currently our price is at 35.8. Now my donut line, so you know, is 366 right here, 0.366. This is the cost, the real cost when I'm in profit, okay? And we'll finish up setting up Trade Sniper here in just a second here. So hold on just a second. I know I just did my screen just got weird here. Hold on. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that line and we're going to put that in here so we can get a graphic visualization of where profit really is for me. All right. So let's drop this in here and do 0.366. Now this should be pretty telling. Whoops, 0.336. Sorry, I'm dyslexic, so 366. There we go. Okay. All right. Now, this should be very graphic representation of why you don't make the money. Now, here, this red line right here, let's go ahead and let's make this a different color so it's a little bit, let's make that white so it really stands out. Okay, so we just did our live purchase right here at 3.5 and some change. So that means we got to rise up this amount of money to get above that before we're actually legitimately really truly in money in profit. So that means we have to come up actually 2.15%. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means my trade fees are basically a little bit over 0.75% because I'm a high level trader. So the donut line is taking into effect the cost of getting in, the cost of getting out, because that's what we refer to as a completed open and close move on a trade. And so this line right here is the line I'm looking to better. And I can start factoring my profits above that. So if I get up here and I go up about yay far, I've made 2.25%. If I get up here and let's say, for example, in real world example, now that I've got my line here, and let's say we go all the way up to the blue line, I would be making 9% if we did all that way. Now, if you were looking at this, the standard way, you're going to go, woohoo, I'm going to make 10, 11%. But you're not because your donut line has not been calculated. Okay, so with that being said, here's where Trade Sniper really kicks butt. This thing will be set up, and so here's another thing that we're going to do. We're going to come back and we're going to finish setting our stuff up. Now we've got part 2 to this. So what have we done so far? We have set up a trade for XLM. We have bought it. We bought 5,000 bucks. We know our cost of doing business. Now we want to set up an active trailing stop loss. All right, we have sliders here. We're going to let's put a 2% trailing stop loss on this. All right, and we're going to put an emergency floor of, just for the hell of it, we're going to put an emergency floor of 5%. Now let me explain what happened here. So this is another thing that has constantly plagued me when I teach this stuff to people. People don't use proper stop losses. How can you call yourself a trader when you're not protecting your downside? When you're not protecting your downside, you're basically rolling the dice in the casino and you're going, God, I sure hope I don't lose any money. That's not how you win this game, folks. Sometimes things go backwards and you got to be able to roll with the punches, and you got to be able to take a loss, walk it off, get to the next one. Limit downside, maximize upside. So what we've just done here with this setting is we've done exactly that. We're saying absolute line in the sand. Let's just take this and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So what we're saying is I'm willing, from the price I purchased, down 5%, which is exactly right here, right about where my cursor's at. I'm not willing to sell. I'm not willing to take a loss beyond that. So let me just kind of sketch that in here real quick, just so we can kind of have an understanding. I'm not willing to take any more of a loss. If it dips below that line, Trade Sniper will sell and we'll just walk it off and go back to the next trade. Okay, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I'm not going to let it wipe me out. So I've now just protected my bag from decimation. So if all of a sudden there's a blood candle and I'm sleeping in the middle of the night, worst I'm going to do is lose 5%. And if I know the odds going in, or 3% or 2%, whatever I set, I generally set my stuff at 5% because I'm pretty sure going in. Okay, so now on the upside, this is where it gets cool. On the upside, the other part of this is we've put a 2% trailing stop loss on this particular transaction. So here's how this works. Let me get this back here. All right, now from here, the candle's going to move and it's going to dance back and forth, back and forth. When we cross my donut line, my active trailing stop loss kicks in. Now, what happens is if this goes up a little bit, and let's say it doesn't go full stroke, this would be good for the conversation. Let's say we're sure hoping that it's going to go all the way up here. If we were a manual trader, we wouldn't even be entertaining anything in this area, would we? Would we? Let's be honest. We would be so sure that the TA showed us that it was going to go here, but it didn't. Instead, it only went 50%. And why would that be? Because we have a little bit of a stop. We have a little bit of a shelf right there. So the probability that it could probably do that is very certain. And so here's what would end up happening in that case. You would go, let's get rid of that there. You would go enter your trade with a 2% stop loss. We cross the donut line. The live trailing stop loss kicks in. She goes up, 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 hits that Fibonacci line and pulls back. Doesn't go full stroke. Now here you are sleeping in bed, waking up the next morning. Let's say everything just turns and goes to hell and drops after that. Now you would have lost money. I, as a Trade Sniper user, would not have lost money. And here's why I'm going to show you that. All right, here's how this works. From the donut line up to the top of where that is would have been a 5.65% run from true profit to true top. I just set a 2% stop loss, meaning whatever the maximum height that this candle hits, or any candle successive after that hits, anytime it pulls back, how much? 2%, because I set 2%. Anytime it pulls back 2% off of the ultimate high of the run, that could be in 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, however, 1 second, 2 second, whatever the highest high is, I want that minus 2%, just to give it a little room to breathe. So what would I be making? I would be making literally, what was that? That is 5.27. Okay. So I would be making 3.27. 3.27% of 5,000 bucks. Not great, but I call that a profit. That's a really quick, just in and out snipe profit. Now, we have another element of this that I cannot get into talking about that has an AI element that can do this thousands and thousands of times automatically, that's built into Trade Sniper. And you'll have to watch those other two videos to get a sense of what I'm talking about, because I don't want to have this, I want to actually do a little paid advertising and get this ad out, and I don't want YouTube basically canceling my advertising here. So I want to be able to spread this far and wide because I think you guys need to learn about this. So you would have, meanwhile, had you not been doing this, you would have woke up in this scenario to loss, and there's no reason to do that. Guys, technology is now to a point where desktop trading is possible, and tools like this are available to you guys. If you want to know more, go to fibicharts.com. And if you can go to the unfairadvantage.chat, of course. But what you would do also is go to FibicHarts if you want to purchase. Let me show you where you can get to that here real quick. Our main website is fibicharts.com, F-I-B-I charts.com. Go right here to pricing, and you can get your very own unit. And you can choose from our premium service, our midline service, or our entry-level service. And if you do that, we'd love to have you be a part of the winning team. Until next time, my name is Red Baron. Be safe, be good, and be good at it. Peace and hair grease, baby.